Voters in Houston have voted against the Houston Equal Rights Ordinance, which would have created protections for many different groups of people living in the area, including members of the LGBT community. Now, supporters of the ordinance had said it would have offered increased protections for gay and transgender people, as well as protections against discrimination based on sex, race, age, religion, and other categories. Now, why would anyone vote against this? Well, the reason why it did not pass is because there was a very strong campaign against this ordinance. And the campaign basically used scare tactics to make parents believe that their young female daughters would have to shower with male students who think that they're females. That's the kind of campaign that they ran, okay? So in the months leading up to Tuesday's vote, opponents focused their campaign on highlighting one part of the ordinance related to the issue of public bathrooms by transgender men and women that opponents alleged would open the door for sexual predators to go into women's restrooms. Now, we have two examples of those ads for you today, so I want you to take a look at what these scare tactics are, and then we'll tear them apart.
Proposition 1 bathroom ordinance. What does it mean to you? Any man at any time could enter a woman's bathroom simply by claiming to be a woman that day. No one is exempt. Even registered sex offenders could follow women or young girls into the bathroom, and if a business tried to stop them, they'd be fined. Protect women's privacy. Prevent danger. Vote no on the Proposition 1 bathroom ordinance. It goes too far.
I hadn't seen that ad. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I read about it, but I hadn't seen it firsthand. The imagery is so despicable, and the way that they're exploiting cases of rape and sexual assault as an excuse to discriminate against the LGBT community disgusts me. And this is an example of how, even though we're making great strides when it comes to the gay community and in some ways the transgender community, we still have a long way to go because there aren't equal protections for the LGBT community in a lot of different states and municipalities. And this is an example of that. Yeah. That was sick.
It was sick, and it was also stupid because I get, like, if you're trying to make the case that they'll just be able to stand in there and listen to you or be near you or whatever. Okay, fine. Try to make that case. It's stupid, but you can make that case. They're claiming that day that they're a man or a woman or whatever. But if your case is that they're going to go into the stall with your child to rape them, they can do that now. It's a crime, but they can do it. It doesn't make it legal to rape people.
I love the idea that a rapist is going to be deterred by a sign that says women only.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's so unrealistic. And again, look, the people that are running this very deceptive campaign don't believe what they're saying in these videos. They know that that's not the case, but they hate the LGBT community so much, they want to make sure that their ability to discriminate against them is intact and that they won't be dealing with any consequences if they discriminate against them. What their worry is, hey, you know what? We're religious, okay? And we're bigots and we're terrible people and we want to continue being terrible people without the government meddling in our business. Yeah. That's what the real issue is here. So let's go to the second video. This one features Lance Berkman, who is a baseball player in Houston, or was a baseball player in Houston. This ad is just as despicable, but let's take a look.
I'm Lance Berkman. I've played professional baseball for 15 years, but my family is more important. My wife and I have 4 daughters. Proposition 1 would allow troubled men who claim to be women to enter women's bathrooms, showers, and locker rooms. It's better to prevent this danger by closing women's restrooms to men rather than waiting for a crime to happen. Join me to stop the violation of privacy and discrimination against women. Vote no on Proposition 1. No men in women's bathrooms, no boys in girls' showers or locker rooms.
Why are they pretending that it only goes to that one? First of all, like even if someone transitions from a genetically born woman to male, and he would say that that's not a male, it's still a woman. In this case, you're discriminating against that woman. You just said you want to fight discrimination against women. They're trying to pretend that it's only so that guys can go into women's bathrooms. No, that's not the way that being transgendered works. It goes in both directions. And it's very illustrative of their fears that they're only talking about one there.
So let's take the transgender issue out of this completely and just talk about bathrooms in general, right? Like, I know that sounds, hold on, I know that sounds ridiculous, but I want to make a point about something. Okay, so traditionally you have segregated bathrooms. Men and women go into their separate bathrooms. Fairly recently, I've been exposed to co-ed bathrooms, right? It's coming up more and more. Maybe it's because I live in California. But YouTube Space LA, they have a co-ed bathroom.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Right? How many instances of rape has there been at that bathroom?
I've never been raped there.
I've never been raped there.
I really hope that no one has been raped
why
there.
do people why do people think that bathrooms are specifically designed for rapists, right?
Fear of some perv listening to you or
Fear and
looking at you.
ignorance.
That's
people
really
go to
why.
the bathroom to relieve themselves, they wash their hands hopefully, and they leave. Okay?
Yes.
If a rapist wants to rape someone, they're not going to wait for a perfect bathroom scenario to make it happen. The fact that these ads actually resonated with the people of Houston disgusts me.
Yeah.
Right? And for them to vote against an ordinance that would protect people from discrimination disgusts me. Houston should be ashamed of themselves, because even if they want to protect people, if they fell victim to these stupid propaganda, deceptive ads, well, then you're a moron. So if you voted against this ordinance, not only are you a bad person, most likely, you're also an idiot, okay? Because you're uneducated, you're ignorant, and you don't understand what the reality is.
And by the way, again, like that they had the picture of the guy there. So he's saying no men in women's bathrooms. How easily could you just black and white that photo and say no blacks in women's bathrooms? Because these same sorts of arguments were being used 50 or 60 years ago to say why we shouldn't have integrated bathrooms. Because they were worried about the scary minorities going into white people's bathrooms and preying on them there. It's the same fear, it's the same stupidity. Houston, by the way, which is in Texas, but it is Houston. It's a large city. It's not Dallas. It's more liberal. It's more racially diverse. Should understand that and should understand the long history of these same sorts of scare tactics being used to scare people into recognizing our shared humanity. And that's why what you were saying before is so true, that it's disappointing and they should be ashamed. Now, not all voted against extending these protections, but obviously most did, and that is incredibly disheartening.
Absolutely. And also, Greg Abbott, who is the governor of Texas, tweeted about this. And I want to end on this just to show you what an ignorant piece of shit he is. He said, Houston, vote Texas values, not Hillary Clinton values. Apparently, Hillary Clinton was in favor of an ordinance that protects people from discrimination.
Okay,
How dare she?
Good.
Vote no on City of Houston Proposition 1, no men in women's bathrooms. You're a disgusting human being.